Hey everybody, Julio DeSanctis here. Welcome to Hodgkins 2 Electric Boogaloo. You might be wondering, why isn't that guy in the hospital yet? Good question. I am supposed to be in the hospital today, but if you watched all the videos, and by judging by the views numbers, you haven't been, a scheduler, who, as you might know, I've had trouble with in the past, who I will forever refer to as just a fucking glorified secretary, screwed up, didn't get me a PET CT scan scheduled in time. And because of that, they've pushed back my admission. So, yeah. Anyway, today we've got a whole new population of things in the schedule. I've got stuff tomorrow and Thursday and Sunday, and I am definitely going into the hospital on Monday, the 20th, but that puts us about a week behind. And, I got to say, I don't know how. I'm not very good at science, as we've covered before. So I don't really understand how time works in the Stephen Hawking's manner of understanding, or even the Neil deGrasse Tyson manner of understanding. But when I found out last week that I was not going into the hospital today, it felt like those moments in movies where you think that the protagonist is really close to like catching up to something, or maybe in a cartoon where Wile E. Coyote looks like they're about to catch the Roadrunner. He's about to catch the Roadrunner. And then all of a sudden, like wormhole time, and it's really far away now, and like they'll never get there in time. That's what that moment in time felt like, which is odd because it feels like it was just yesterday almost that I was told that I had cancer again, right? Like it doesn't, late June, early July, feels like boom, it went like that. So cancer, as it turns out, and chemotherapy, both, well, I guess it just breaks the space-time continuum. I mean, it's like 1.21 gigawatts on its own, or 88 miles per hour, or whatever it was, whatever the speed was that they had to get to the DeLorean going. Because it seems both incredibly fast and unbelievably fucking slow, right? Because now, whereas before I thought I was going to be done, October 10th, October 12th, now October 17th, October 19th, October 22nd, whatever it is, it seems so fucking far away. Really a real bummer on that. But, that's the way it goes. I do find it strange that the scheduler who I had it out with last week literally erased everything out of my schedule. And today I started getting, notices of like the new schedule. She probably could have repopulated it, right? She didn't have to, like, out of spite, maybe. Seems like spite, taking it all away. But I'm not dealing with her anymore. So now the good people at one office or another have to put it in. I don't know. Anyway, those people seem competent. The fucking glorified secretary, totally incompetent. And her, fussy little British accent didn't make things any better. Whatever. That's a whole nother thing about having dealt with the Brits on business in the past. And I know when they say shit, they don't really mean it, because they think that their Oxford accent sort of camouflages how much of a pain in the ass they really are. Anyway, on other topics, I've spent the last week with this thing in my chest, learning how to sleep on my back again. And that's weird, having to relearn that. So before my cancer diagnosis 10 years ago, I used to always be a flat on my back sleeper. And I'll, as silly as it sounds now, looking back on it, I will admit, when I first got divorced, in the early 2000s, and was out on the scene again and meeting ladies, I somehow had in my head like sleeping on your back is like the most masculine thing. That's like because I can put my arms out, and not that I had two at the same time, but you spread out and the girl gets in there and stuff like that. It seemed like that's a super masculine thing. But then in 2011, when Hodgkin's started in my chest, and by the time they found it, they said it was like like a softball size or like a grapefruit size mass in my chest. Um, when I slept on my back, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Now, a normal human being would go to the doctor for that, I would expect, but instead I was like, well, if I learn to sleep on my side, I can breathe and no problems. And that went on for months before it spread to my neck. And my mother talked me into seeing a doctor and all that. That's just the power of nagging, folks. But before that, flat on my back sleeper, taught myself how to sleep on my side because of Hodgkin's 10 years ago. Don't do that, by the way. If you think there's something, if you can't breathe while sleeping, see a doctor. Now relearning that because over the last 10 years, I've just always been a side sleeper, mostly on my left side. I imagine I look fairly adorable sleeping now, chubby face, bald head, like a full grown baby. I even sleep with my tongue out. I sleep like this, I'll admit. That's how I sleep. Fucking weird, I know, but I've done it ever since I was a baby, basically. It looked more masculine when I was flat on my back, sleeping, all spread out like a man. So I'm learning to sleep on my back. I was learning to sleep on my back because of this surgery on my chest. And the way I'm learning that is by taking a shitload of Ativan to knock myself out. This worries my wife to no end. She's convinced that after a week of Ativan and ice cream, I like to say, or maybe Ativan and a cookie. I do like to have a little dessert when I take my prescription medication, my benzo. So it's knocking me out, and that way I can sleep. And I don't know if I'll be able to sleep on my back, or I'll continue to be a back sleeper once this is gone. But I do know my wife is really worried about the Ativan use, and I have assured her that the doctors have a plan to wean me off the Ativan when this is all over. As I've described it, as they described it to me, and I've retold it to my wife, first I start with, I go from the benzos to some opioids. And then at some point I get on, go to a methadone clinic. And then for a brief period of time, I'm back on the Ativan, but it's just to make sure that I'm off it. And then finally, a heavy dose of heroin. I kick it in an alleyway somewhere, and then I get clean. That's the steps that the doctors have laid out to me as to how to get off Ativan. I think it's funny. I don't know if that's funny at all, but I do think it's particularly funny that I have to get back on Ativan in this plan that has worried my wife. Obviously, none of that's real. That doesn't matter to my wife if it's real or not. She just thinks it's not funny for me to joke about drug addiction. I think drug addiction's fucking hysterical if it hasn't happened to you, which it hasn't, knock wood. And I figure, listen, if I kicked, 30 plus years of drinking alcohol regularly in the January of 2020, and I just kicked it like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore, and literally never went back to it, with the exception of like some champagne on election day and the inauguration, and maybe a beer here and there, maybe some occasional scotch. And then, obviously powder cocaine, but never the rock. Yeah, either way, I'm clean. All right. This has been a all over the place video today. So that's everything. I'm still going to the hospital next week. You'll get more videos in the time in between. Fuck cancer. Go get vaccinated. Keep fighting the good fight. Love you all. Except for the people that refuse to get vaccinated. You're fucking morons. Okay. Bye-bye.